Today I will explain you about Java database connectivity, that is JDBC type 2 driver. Now basically the JDBC driver is used to translate the Java calls to database calls and database calls back to the Java calls. Now we have four types of drivers, and in that type 2 driver is Java to native API driver. Now the JDBC call can be converted into a database vendor specific native call with the help of type 2 driver. In other words, this sort of driver makes Java native interface calls on database specific native client API. So here we have a driver called Java to native API driver. So whatever the JDBC call has been made, that has been given to the Java to native API driver, and that is going to convert into the database equivalent format. These database specific native client APIs are usually written in C and C++. So that's what native languages for Java is. Apart from Java, like C and C++ can be considered as a native languages. If you see the architecture of the type 2 driver, we have to write a Java application. In that, we need to use a JDBC API, that is java.sql package, and we need to make a JDBC call, and that need to be on the type 2 driver. The type 2 driver accepts your request, and it is going to convert into DBMS specific native API. So here you have a database server, and here the lines, what you can see, the dashed lines is nothing but the client side. So type 2 driver is also been inside the client side only, but it is able to make the call onto the database server based on the loading of drivers and the connection establishment steps, where you can give your credentials as well as what type of driver you are using and what sub protocol you are using. So based on that idea, the type 2 driver is going to convert the JDBC call into DBMS specific native API calls. So here the database server holds a lot of databases, and to which one you want to connect. So that equivalent uh, language or format is been converted. So the JDBC call is converted into native call, and it is going to connect to the database server. Now here when you see the diagram, the steps in the diagram of the Java application that needs to communicate with the database is programmed using a JDBC API. That's what I was saying, java.sql package we write for JDBC application development. These JDBC calls, that is programs written by using JDBC API, are converted into database specific native calls in the client machine only, and therefore the request is then dispatched to the database specific native libraries. So whole conversion is done at the client side, and then it is given to the database for execution. These native libraries present in the client are intelligent enough to send the request to the database server by using a native protocol. So when you talk about protocol, that is nothing but rules and regulations for communication. So here when you use type 2 driver, it has been sending the request to the database server by using a native protocol. Now what are the advantages of type 2 JDBC driver? Now one is it helps to access the data faster as compared to other types of drivers, because the intermediate layers are being reduced. When you compare with JDBC bridge driver, one layer has been reduced, so obviously the access will be faster. Then it contains additional features provided by the specific database vendors, which are also supported by the JDBC specification. So if any additional features are available for the type 2 driver, that also can be added or applicable to your type 2 driver. That means there will be some extensibility for the type 2 driver features, because every time there is some upgradation or the other for the drivers. So that extensibility feature has been applicable for type 2 driver. Now coming to the disadvantages of type 2 driver. Now it requires native libraries to be installed on client machines. Since the conversion from JDBC calls to database specific native calls is done on client machines. So already we have seen the architecture In that, we have seen some dashed lines, and inside that you can see your Java application is residing, and the type 2 driver is also been residing inside client only. So most of the work is been done by the client rather than your actual database server. So the required libraries also need to be, the required native libraries also need to be installed in each and every client. Then only it will work. But here it is a tedious task in order to install the native libraries in all the systems, and any upgradation later, still you need to upgrade in all the systems. So that is one of the disadvantage of type 2 driver. Now it executes the database specific native functions on the client JVM, implying that any bug in the type 2 driver might crash the JVM. So everything has been done on the client. Most of the work has been done on the client machine. So if any errors occurs, there is a possibility of the JVM, that is Java Virtual Machine, crash. Then your application will not run. Then it increases the cost of the application in case it is run on different platforms. So as you know, Java is platform independent, and you want to make the application to run on various operating systems. And then obviously we need to go for translating the language like Jdbc call to the system understandable format or the database format. And now you are trying to put on different platforms. Then obviously in order to configure such systems for this database connectivity, the cost will be a little bit high. Now coming to the examples of type 2 JDBC driver. Now we have OCI, that is Oracle Call Interface Driver. Now it communicates with Oracle Database Server. This driver converts JDBC calls into Oracle native library calls. So when you use the database connectivity for Oracle, then you can take this OCI driver as a type 2 driver, and which is used to communicate with the Oracle Database Server. Now we have WebLogic OCI driver for Oracle. Now WebLogic is separate organization which is working with the database and application servers. So it makes JNI calls to WebLogic library functions. The WebLogic OCI driver for Oracle is similar to the Oracle OCI driver. So here we do have some Oracle call interface for WebLogic also. So a separate driver has been used in order to communicate with the WebLogic server. Then we need to use this one. Then type 2 driver for Sybase. Sybase is one of the database. It converts JDBC call into Sybase database libraries or client library calls, which are native libraries to connect to the Sybase. So like this, you do have some other databases where you can connect with the type 2 drivers. So I hope I have given some input on type 2 JDBC driver with advantages and disadvantages, and also with some examples. So if you like this video, please subscribe, do comment, and share it with your friends. Thank you.